The Verdict with World Pool.
Hello everybody, welcome to this week's edition of The Verdict, when we're going to go far and wide in search of some interesting data. We'll be at Sandown last week, and then we will go to the Ladbrokes Ayr Gold Cup Festival for some interesting performances, and then also Newmarket and Gowran Park to conclude this week's programme. We start at Sandown midweek, where conditions were pretty testing, as attested by these times. Here are all of the winners, Esna and Accredit. I think two nice horses to follow going forward, particularly Accredit, who featured on The Verdict on his previous start. Cicero's Gift, a reasonably good time, 5.3 above the Racing Post standard. It was the best on the day. So how does that stack up as far as the Race IQ Time Index are concerned? I think the time index that we've got here, with an average of 5.1, back up the going description of soft, not necessarily good to soft in places. I think it was pretty soft overall, both on the straight course, which a very poor figure there for the first race of 2.3, and on the round course, where we had okay times, but particularly good time from Cicero's Gift, who loves soft ground, 6.8 out of 10, and that really brought the average up. So let's have a look at Cicero's Gift, who won the Sporting Times Sri Lanka Fortune Stakes, the listed contest, and did so in pretty good style in the end for the Charlie Hills team. This is over 1 mile. There is Cicero's Gift coming from 4, beats Balmakara from stall 3, Salal in the yellow colours from stall number 1. First thing to say about the Verdict this week is we're going to see a lot of slow finishes, and this is a case in point. Slow finishes because of conditions, and that means that we have to look at performances relatively, how slowly horses finish compared to everything else, because we're not going to be getting lots of sub-11 second final couple of furlongs this week, courtesy of conditions. So Cicero's Gift taken back, you can see that in the early stages of the race, having jumped well, second fastest to 20 miles an hour, 2.67 seconds. And Balmakara went a real honest gallop out in front. The first 5 furlongs rated fast or very fast against the Race IQ par. Listen, these are Balmakara splits. Second furlong, 11.77, very fast. Third furlong, 11.87, very fast. Fourth furlong, 13 seconds, very fast as against par. So what we know from that is that they have got a real good lick in this race. There is no hiding place, and it meant that every single horse in the race finished slowly, but Cicero's Gift was able to keep going better than everything else. Make a note of Salal, far side, yellow colours, big white faces, a horse with loads of speed as he flashed when he won on his previous start, and he got bogged down in the conditions. He still ran very well to be third. Now we pick up Cicero's Gift, far side, pink colours, very slow 7th furlong as against par of 13.43. But this is where context comes in. He might have been very slow, but he's still faster than the others. They can't handle conditions as well as him. Then 14.62, that's a really slow final furlong. But it is good enough to see off Balmakara, who's run an absolute blinder, given those very strong early fractions, to hang in there for second spot. I thought Salal did pretty well. He doesn't want this sort of ground, and he's run on really well through the final furlong, given the conditions. He wants much better ground, and he would be very interesting if he ran in the Cambridgeshire at Newmarket, but given that he would want slightly better ground than he got here at Sandown. Cicero's Gift, superb record on this sort of ground. Loves this ground, acts on heavy ground, is best on this, and goes on the all-weather okay, but does not like fast ground at all. He's going to have to step up if he's going to cut it in better company. He's also in the Cambridgeshire, but he wanted to come up really soft if he was going to oblige there in that very competitive handicap. But he got just what he wanted here. Really soft conditions, a strong gallop. He sat off that strong gallop after a good break from the stalls. He bided his time, and he just came home too strongly for the rest of his opponents in this contest for the best time index of the day at Sandown. Overall, it was a good speed figure from him in ideal conditions. There we go. You can see that sea of green early on for all of the runners. They're going hard for the first 5 furlongs. There is no hanging around, particularly Balmacaro took them along in sub 12-second furlongs early. They all paid for that late on. But look at the final furlongs from Cicero's Gift, 28.04. And the rest of them much slower, 29.31 for a very tired Balmacaro. Salal keeping on at 28.54, so slightly better than Balmacaro. He was getting to Balmacaro inside that final furlong. And the finishing speed percentage of 93.57 tells you all you need to know about just how tired they were late on in that Fortune Stakes. Let's go north of the border to the west coast of Scotland for the Ladbrokes Ayr Gold Cup Festival, and we'll take you to Friday and have a look at the winners on what was day 2 of the 3-day meeting. We had quite slow times. Look at those times as against the Racing Post standard, particularly slow from Just Dotty in that final contest. Beautiful Diamond, though, put up a pretty good performance, 3.69 above the Racing Post standard over 5.5 furlongs. We're going to concentrate on her. She's a pretty good sprinter. Here's the Race IQ Time Index. What did she score there, and how do the times stack up against the official going description, which was soft? I think it's just about soft, maybe a little bit worse than that. Early on, it was described as good to soft. I don't think it was anywhere near good to soft with those first 2 races of 4.2 and 4.3 out of 10. They were honestly enough runs. So I think we were soft at the beginning of the card, and we were verging on heavy. I'd have called it soft to heavy, really. 4.5 for Beautiful Diamond, one of the better times on the card with the average of 4.3. So let's have a look at what she achieved in this Arran Scottish Sprint Fillies Stakes. Just fillies and mares, so up against their own sex. It was a listed contest, and she won this from stall number 6, and she beat Star of Memes from 2 and Rhyme Dust from stall number 3. She's a lightly raced individual. Her career has been peppered by long breaks. She's good fresh, though, and she's a very fast filly who is now 3 from 3 at Ayr. She won here in 2023. And she won here in 2024. Both of those were listed events. And at this sort of level, listed in Group 3, she's very good. Her break speed, 2.4 seconds to 20 miles an hour. So she's 4th fastest. Early on, the pace is rapid. You can see that 3rd furlong. She's gone 11.02 at the head of affairs with Star of Lady M, who won this last year. So she's rattling along. This is a race that is pretty strongly run, and you can see that from the finishing speed percentage, because although she wins, her finishing speed percentage is pretty slow, 95.31 as against a par of just over 100. So she really is quite tired, but she's got them all at it in behind, bar Star of Memas, white cap and blue colours, striped sleeves, looking for a run in behind the winner. Eventually gets out and runs on quite strongly. And here we go again. This is Cicero's Gift stuff, really. A very slow final furlong of 13.39, much slower than the Race IQ par, but good enough to see off all of the rivals in behind. And she was much better than them on the day, I think, Beautiful Diamond. She's got them off the bridle quite a long way out, bar Star of Memas. And then she's run on strongly enough to win this pretty cosily. As I said, her career has been peppered by breaks, and one wonders if she'll always be best fresh, but she was certainly very good this day. Luna Aniba-ish ran pretty well in behind, big white face, green cap, just got briefly outpaced and then ran on strongly, and would have some handicapping options going forward after this for the Katie Scott teams. That's always to just keep an eye on. Had a really good season, but there might be yet another win to come from that horse. Beautiful Diamond, don't know where she'll go now. I mean, she'd probably struggle in Group 1 company sprinting, but she's a very fast filly. She loves air. She likes getting her toe in, and this was a pretty good performance from the front. Because I said there was no hiding place at all, with that first half furlong being very fast, a 3rd furlong being 11.02, really quick early on for half of the race, getting tired, but able to hang on from rivals who are more tired than her. She's a pretty smart sprinter, particularly when she's up against her own sex. Let's sum up what we saw there then. There we go. That's the early fractions. You can see it pretty quick. 7.93 for her. She was in front straight away, really. That was the first half furlong. That's very fast. 11.07, that fast. 11.02, then a par of 11.24, and only getting tired through the final couple of furlongs. 25.44 as against Sarah Memes 25.58. It was about going fast and then hanging on best, and she certainly did that. Beautiful Diamond. Let's move on a day to Ladbrokes Gold Cup Day itself on Saturday afternoon. We'll have a look at the Gold Cup, and we'll also have a look at the success of Al Merrick. Here are the times on the day. They're commensurate with the first 2 days, really. They're quite slow overall. Candy putting up a very good performance to win the Silver Cup in 1:12.27, which is just a shade quicker than Run Boy Run in the Ayr Gold Cup. A great double for the Richard Spencer George Wood team, taking both of those big sprints. So we'll have a look at Run Boy Run in a moment, but we'll start with Almeric. Here's what Almeric achieved as far as the Race IQ Time Index is concerned, over 1.25 miles. It's okay, 3.2 out of 10, and there were some better times on the card. And overall, the going was soft. I think these numbers just about reflect that. An average would be about 6, given the class of the races that we had. So I think soft is about right. The meeting average overall was 4.9. It was brought down a little bit by that second time of 3.2 of Almeric. But nonetheless, this was a visually taking performance from a really good horse, I think. So let's have a look at it in its entirety. The race itself was the Doonside Cup listed status, and it was over 10 furlongs. And Almeric is slowly away, very tardy into stride under Oisin Murphy. He's given them, what, 3-4 lengths or so from stall 3 from King's Gambit. He was second from stall 4 in Liberty Lane, Cambridgeshire winner last year, stall number 6. And from here, you'd think that Almeric is very much on the back foot, but the pace is quite honest. Look at that break speed for Almeric, really poor, 3.43 seconds, 6th fastest into stride. I don't think Oisin want to be so far back. But the race was quite honestly run. Now, once again, we're dealing with a slow finish here, slower than par finish through the final 3 furlongs, even though Almeric does win really decisively and looks to be sprinting clear. It's literally just keeping going better than all of the rest of them. And the gallop was good. Certain Lad took them along, with Caviar Heights involved as well. And Caviar's taken over at this point. 12.42, a fast second furlong. 12.73, a fast third furlong. And then the next 3 furlongs were all par or faster. So there wasn't much of a hiding place here. It was quite a strong gallop, and that really suited Oisin, given that tardy start, because horses are going to stop in front of him, and Almeric is going to surge to a really good success. And look how he's rated her, with a finishing speed percentage of 103.99. So he's got Almeric to finish off 3.99% quicker than the source ran the rest of the race. So Oisin's got the fractions right here. The par over this trip is a bit quicker, 106.52, because they tend to go steady and then sprint over 10 furlongs at Ayr. But here, because of the ground, Almeric couldn't finish that quickly, but quickly enough to see off these rivals. And this way is where Almeric's really good, picking up from the back of the field. You can see getting to them really quickly, having been 2 or 3 lengths adrift, and now switch wide to quicken up. The 12.21 through the 8th furlong. Well, it's rated as slow, but it's a lot quicker than all of the rivals around Almeric. And then a 12.72 is slow as well, but the others are all very slow. They're all absolutely legless off that strong gallop, and Almeric is keeping going in the style of a horse who's going to be suited by 1.5 miles. I think definitely would be a better horse over 12 furlongs. So staying this trip really well and hitting the line relatively strongly compared to King's Gambit and Liberty Lane, who are always prominent close to that strong gallop. Almeric, it's possible, will go for the Champions Stakes at Ascot in October. Would probably want soft ground and a really strong gallop to have any chance there. But I think that this horse's future really lies over 1.5 miles next season. And it's interesting, trainer Andrew Balding has kept this horse away from fast ground throughout his career. So I think he's always going to be an autumn horse. I think 1.5 miles next year, you'll see an awful lot more from Almeric. And as far as the whole day was concerned, this was a pretty fast finish compared to all of the other races on the card. His finishing speed percentage 103.99, showing how quickly he finished off. Sum it up then, we've got the Race IQ data for you to have a look at. And you can see once again, we are dealing with slow finishes here as against par. Rated evenly by Oisin Murphy in behind. He's not going slow in behind. He's running par sectionals there. 12.95, 13.86, 13.11. Then quickening up through the 6th furlong to go and get to those tiring horses in front of him. That 12.47 and a 12.5. He's the only horse in the final 5 furlongs to run a very fast furlong. That was to get him into contention, and then stayed on really strongly compared to the rest of them, who were on fumes in the closing stages. I think this Almeric is a really good horse, and one to follow when stepping up in trip. Okay, we're going to stick with the action on Saturday at Ayr, and the big race itself was the Ladbrokes Ayr Gold Cup, a heritage handicap, of course, over 6 furlongs. and it was won by Run Boy Run, completing Silver Cup and Gold Cup double for the Richard Spencer team. Let's have a look at the race from the start. There was a bit of wisdom about to suggest that high draws were best. They certainly have been in the last few years. It wasn't the case here, was it? You can see the winner from 6, second from 5, and the third in the mid part of the pack from stall number 14. So it was better, really, to be low. Run Boy Run beating Desert Falcon, Jubilee Walk, Purasang, Hammer the Hammer, and Northern Ticker. Pretty quickly into stride and makes every yard of the running. Third fastest to 20 miles an hour, 2.31 seconds. And came home relatively tired, but battled on really strongly. Look at the early pace. It's pretty fierce, 10.83 for the second furlong. So once again, we're dealing with race run hard early and then a tired finish as a really quick second furlong. They were fast out of the stalls. They all got going really quickly. Most of the field posting a very fast first furlong. Run Boy Run's over on the far side, in front at this stage, and will be strongly pressed by Desert Falcon late on, but just outstays that horse. The final couple of furlongs, 12.14 Run Boy Run, slow, and a 13.47, a very slow final furlong. But Desert Flower was 13.51, so a few hundredths slower for the runner-up, and that mattered in the closing stages. Finishing speed percentage tells you all you need to know. It's 94.41. Wow, they were really tired late on. A really good attitude from Run Boy Run, who's been largely consistent all season, to see off Desert Flower. There were a few eye catchers in behind because of the draw mainly, really. I thought Northern Ticker from stall 19, the 3-year-old, did really well to finish 6th, and is not a horse to give up on. He's in the middle of the screen there, red colours, sheepskin noseband. And obviously Jubilee Walk in 3rd from stall 14 has done pretty well. And Purasang, Jubilee Walk, and indeed Northern Ticker came home stronger than the winner through the final couple of furlongs. But they had too much to do. Making all in the Silver Cup was the way to go, and making all in the Ayr Gold Cup was also the way to go. And delighted connections, Phil Cunningham there. And George Wood, they're giving him the debrief after making all to win the Ayr Gold Cup. Let's have a look at some data. As far as race IQ is concerned, you can see that they were quick early. I think everyone wanted to get going, really. They wanted to jump and run, so they were fast through the first couple of furlongs. 10.83 was a quick furlong from Run Boy Run. You can see those numbers in brackets showing that he was out in front all along. And Desert Falcon, who finished second, was always up there as well, in 3rd spot early on. Purasang's the one that's come from a little way back and got into 4th in the end, very well supported. But a slow finish, 13.47 is pretty slow. From the winner, and bettered there by Purasang and Jubilee Walk, but Run Boy Run established a lead and was able to cling on. Time now on the verdict for the Whirlpool Race of the Week. And the race of the week was on Saturday. It was the Pennsylvania Derby, the Grade 1 that took place at Parks on Saturday evening. And it was won by Baiza in good style. Lightly raced horse with more to come and improving as well. Horse who's got a tremendous record thus far in his career. He was 3rd in the Kentucky Derby. He was 3rd in the Belmont Stakes. And this was a good closing effort from some way off the pace. He can boast a placed effort in the Jim Dandy as well. And John Sheriff's his trainer now is looking at the Breeders' Cup Classic for this horse. He really wants to go to Del Mar with this fellow who has never raced there, but he's trained on the Del Mar track as a 2-year-old and as a 3-year-old. And they'll be looking to go there in what looks to be a stellar Breeders' Cup Classic this time around. He's mindful the horse has done a fair bit of shipping and travelling this season, so he's going to keep a close eye on him and make a decision on the Classic later on, but he is lightly raced and he's getting better. That was his best ever by a speed figure of 105. Look out for Baiza in the Breeders' Cup Classic at Del Mar. That was the Whirlpool Race of the Week. Okay, let's go to Newmarket on Saturday, where we encountered different conditions to those that we've seen thus far on the programme at Sandown and at Ayr. It's quicker ground. You can tell that from these times. They're all pretty good, really, not far above the Racing Post standard in most of the races. I'm going to concentrate on a time that wasn't particularly good, but it was an impressive performance from Mothercombe in the 4:30 race, 2 minutes 6.4 over 10 furlongs. Make a note of Reverend Hubert, who won the Cesarewitch trial for the Charles Burns team. An interesting horse when the Cesarewitch itself comes around later this year. But let's have a look at what the Race IQ Time Index made of these times. I think they'll be pretty positive about the times that were achieved. Yeah, the going was officially described as good, and those times with an average of 6.7 would back that up. If anything, it was just a shade quicker, you would say. So really nice flat racing ground at Newmarket with an average of 6.7. Let's go and have a look at this Mothercombe and see what was achieved in this race, which was a little stakes race over 10 furlongs. There's Mothercombe coming out of the stalls relatively slowly. Stall 8 beats Warrant Holder from stall number 4. Native Spirit from stall number 2 was back in 3rd spot. This is a horse who's just having a second career start. Mothercombe, who'd run at Newmarket in July of this year and has shown absolutely nothing, was a bit disappointing and was fitted with a hood for the first time here, and that has worked the oracle, but was still very green throughout this race, and particularly in the closing stages, only getting the hang of things late on, and will be better next time. Break speed was slow, 7th fastest to get to 20 miles an hour. 3.41 seconds really is a very tardy start, but I think Billy Loughnane on board was conscious of getting this horse to settle. He'd been a bit keen on debut and wearing the hood for the first time. Maybe he just wanted to get a break which would enable him to just sit in and get some cover and get this horse to relax. The son of Gaeth with plenty of stamina in the pedigree, and there could be a bit more to come from this horse going forward. The early gallop was not furious. That's why this is quite a low Race IQ Time Index score, and unlike some of those races that we've looked at already, where they've been going fast early and finishing slow, this is the other way around. They've gone steady and they finish quickly because the ground's allowing them to do that, allowing them to really pick up in the closing stages. Mothercombe in the Godolphin Blue is tracking Warrant Holder, giving that horse a nice lead through the race here. And the two of them have a very good tussle in the closing stages. The early fractions were all in that blue segment that we're showing you on these Race IQ graphs, 13.1, 12.6, 12.55. Before they quickened up here, the mile point, and 11.35 now for the winner, rated as very fast against Race IQ. But look, bit of a lumbering around, trying to hang in behind, bit clueless, but still runs an 11.18 penultimate per furlong, rated as very fast, gets to Warrant Holder, got first run a little bit, and then a 12.05 very fast final furlong was good enough to go past Warrant Holder. Just getting the hang of things late on, pulling further clear at the line, and they were a little bit clear of the third. Third was 4 3/4 lengths back. So this might work out okay, this formula. I think this winner is absolutely clueless in the latter stages of the race, but eventually got the hang of things and ran on really well, and probably would stay a bit further. Finishing speed percentage here, interesting, much better than we were seeing at the other tracks that we've looked at so far. 109.66 with a par of 101.51. So saving petrol early on through a steady gallop for a fast finish, and able to run the final 4 furlongs in a very fast time, faster than par by some way. So I think this is a horse with an engine and plenty of ability. So let's have a look at what the Race IQ data say. This is quite interesting in terms of the winners' sectionals. You can see what position in the race that the horse held by looking at the brackets, and look at those. They're quite steady furlongs early on. Second furlong 12.69. There's a 13.1 in there, 12.35. But look at the sudden jump up, furlong 7 from 12.35 to 11.35, a second quicker. That's when the pace really picked up, half a mile out, and then 3 sub-12 second furlongs from Mothcombe, and then a 12.05 good enough to see off Warrant Holder, and indeed was pulling away at the line. I think a horse to keep a close eye on going forward. Yeah, I wanted to highlight one performance from Gowran Park on Saturday afternoon. It came in the Group 3, which was for fillies and mares, and it was over just shy of 10 furlongs, 9.5 to be precise. Here are the winners from the day. And the times were quite slow, really, overall, as against the Racing Post standard, but they did garner some good Race IQ numbers. Let's have a look at the time index for these. Fayham's the horse I'm interested in, the 252. But look at these numbers here, which contradict what the Racing Post standards are saying, with a meeting average of 8.5 and 9.3 for Fayham over that 9.5 furlong trip. These are very high numbers. On ground described officially as heavy, soft in places. Well, unless all these horses are Group 1 horses, this is not heavy ground, and these are not heavy ground times. And you've got to say that according to the Race IQ Time Index, at least this was good ground. So let's have a look at what Fayham did. This is an impressive performance for the Ger Lions team, breaking from stall 1 straight to the front and making every yard of the running. Now, sometimes they say it's easy for a horse to do that. Well, not the way this race was run, I don't think. Fayham from 1, beats Higher Leaves from 14. She's a Nation from stall number 2 was always prominent and finished back in 3rd spot. And why this is such a good performance is Fayham is quite keen, quite zestful in the early part of the race, having broken quite slowly, 3 seconds to 20 miles an hour, 8th fastest, but surging to the front thereafter and going quite fast early on. Went through 12.59, that's a par figure for the 2nd furlong, and then 12.8 and then 13.91 to get to the front, trying to steady it up, but only steadying it up a little bit, running par for the next 3 furlongs and then getting a little bit tired up the hill in the closing stages. But this is quite a zestful effort from Fayham, who's coming back off a bit of a layoff, but is able to stride clear of her rivals in the closing stages to win by 7 lengths, no less, showing plenty of stamina and way too much speed for them. Look at her finishing speed percentage, 102.46, so she's finished off quite well. She's a bit faster in the last part of the race than she was early on. Not quite as good as par, which is 106.76. That seems quite high. There's the 6th furlong highlighted, 12.2, and then she quickens up to a 12.12 after that, with all of her rivals in trouble in behind, and she's got the race won now, really. She's gone quite hard. She's established a lead. Got a little bit of a breather, but not much of one mid-race, going 12.98 and 12.2, and then that 12.12 to gain a length or 2 on her rivals. Now, the last couple of furlongs are interesting. They're slower than par. They're pretty slow at 12.67 and 13.88, but most of her rivals are finishing off in 14 seconds plus. So relative to everything else, she's pretty quick. With the final 3 furlongs of 38.67, 39.6 for the runner-up, over a second slower, and she's eased down late on. This is a really taking performance. Every single part of the race, she's better than her rivals. She hit the top speed of the race of 37.46 miles an hour. She ran the fastest furlong in the race, 12.12 seconds, and she had the highest finishing speed percentage. And when you come out on top of all of those metrics, then you know you are way better than your rivals, and she could step up in grade now. This is an annihilation of a Group 3 field, and you have to be impressed with what she did there. There she is walking back in, and there'll be another good race in her this autumn, you would have thought, because she's coming into this part of the season a fresh horse. Let's have a look at the data to describe exactly what she achieved. There you go. I just wanted to show you that it's 37.46 miles an hour, that top line, that 12.12 furlong as well, with a good finishing speed percentage of 102.46. She's destroyed them in that Fillies Stakes race, a Group 3, and a big step up in grade awaits for her. I hope you enjoyed looking back at those races from last week here on The Verdict. Some very interesting performances. Fayham was really good at Gowran Park. I was very taken with her. Al Merrick, though, is the horse I'm going to take away from this week. I thought he was excellent in the Doonside Cup, off a slow break, running his rivals down, no problem whatsoever. And a step up to a mile and a half, he could be a Group 1 horse in the making. That's it for this week's edition of The Verdict. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
The Verdict with World Pool.